Her voice helped a lot of people get better, but when Tamela Mann needed to get better, the people closest to her were planning how to bring her down. The public saw David Mann as a loving husband and Dr. Jackie as a reliable healer, but behind closed doors, they were using Tamela's pain to build a huge business. It got worse for her body, but their bank accounts got bigger, no longer have the medical records. Insurance policies were changed in a strange way. Tamela's life, which used to be full of gospel and grace, turned into silence, secrecy, and slow death. But one person saw everything. Tamela Mann's daughter Tiffany had kept quiet for years because she loved her mother and was loyal to her father. That is, until she found the folder. There were emails, bank transfers, and prescriptions from Tamela's regular doctors that never showed up. Tiffany went live with her hands shaking and her heart broken, and she told everyone everything. They were killing her slowly. She said something in a whisper. They almost got away with it, I think. The gospel world blew up. Fans were broken. Tyler Perry himself got in touch with them. This story isn't about fame, though. It's about a daughter who chooses truth over blood and betrayal wrapped in prayer. When Tamela finally opened her eyes, she told them to watch out for the money. Tiffany knew this wasn't just being sick. It was set up. The world would finally hear Tamela's real story, not the great Sunday version, but the ugly truth that had been hidden behind the curtain. Her voice healed, her music made Sunday mornings sound good, and her gospel music gave life. But behind the voice was a woman who was slowly going away while two close friends and family watched. The world thought that David and Tamela Mann's love story was perfect for a long time. They were thought to be the best gospel royalty, a husband and wife, partners with a goal, unwavering in their faith. However, when Tamela started getting sick more than once, more questions than expected started to come up behind the scenes. Now, her daughter Tiffany is telling everyone why. The world didn't know that Tamela's illness wasn't limited to her body. It came from being lied to. It was quiet, slow, and deliberate. It came from the man she built her business empire with and the woman she thought of as her best friend. Tiffany Mann has always been shy about going public. She never meant for her actions to hurt the way people saw her family. But what she found out behind closed doors made her have no choice. It began with small things like missing papers, sketchy bank transfers, and strange prescriptions Tamela couldn't remember asking for. Tamela was losing her health, but her instincts were starting to wake up. Tiffany heard it for the first time when she was sitting next to her mother's bed and holding her shaking hands. Tamela told Baby, "Don't trust the people who are smiling the most." Those words made everything different. Tiffany started to look. What she found about her parents broke every belief she had about them. David, her father, who always played the loving and protective husband, had been working with Dr. Jackie, Tamela's longtime friend and private doctor, in secret. What is the goal? Take care of Tamela's money, change how she is treated, and finally take back everything she built. Someone had messed with the medical records, rewriting of insurance policies. David Mann and Dr. Jackie now have joint accounts where the millions of dollars in royalties are kept. That wasn't the worst part, though. Tiffany looked for prescriptions, pills that Tamela never agreed to. That made her tired even more and hurt her voice. Tamela wasn't getting better. She was just being shut up, methodically, systematically, and silently. And David? On screen, he played the sad and stressed out husband, but off screen, he was on vacation with Dr. Jackie. They were more than just partners in crime. They were lovers. Tiffany talked to her dad about it. She begged him to say something or explain it. He told her to be quiet instead. He told them, "Don't break what we built." We didn't build it, though. Tahoa was there. She spoke for everyone. He did something bad to her. That night, Tiffany made a choice. It was her turn to turn it on. She went live. She told everyone what really happened with tears in her eyes and fire in her voice. She said they were killing her slowly for cash, to be in charge, to get power while she prayed. They made plans. The internet went crazy. Fans were shocked. People like pastors, gospel leaders, and famous people started to demand answers. As people in the business world learned what had been going on behind the scenes for years, the hashtag Justice for Tamela became popular. Everyone thought Tamela was too weak to talk, but she sat up in her hospital bed and whispered, "I want to sing again." It wasn't about money anymore. It had to do with the truth. It was about someone who gave everything and someone who tried to take it all. Tiffany and Tamela aren't done yet, so this is just the start. Someone once said that betrayal feels like being stabbed with a knife. But what if it doesn't happen all at once? What if it's pressed in slow, inch by the hands you trusted the most? That is what Tamela Mann went through. As her body and voice got weaker, David and Dr. Jackie smiled at her bedside to act like they cared, tearing her legacy apart in the background. Her only daughter, Tiffany Mann, tried to tell herself that it was not true. No way could her father be responsible for this. He used to stand next to Tamela on church stages and swore to love her through good times and bad, in spite of what the receipts said. A junior accountant at David's gospel company was the first person to get in touch. He saw the wire transfers without anyone knowing and with a lot of anxiety. It is said that over $2.60 million went in and out of shell companies in different states. Restoration Consulting LLC was linked to each transfer. Tiffany had never heard of this company before she tracked it down. It was owned by Dr. Jackie's husband. The horror became more obvious. It wasn't just a night out. Changing Tamala's dosages, making fake documents, and taking money from royalties, life insurance, and the ministry fund were all part of a large-scale scheme. Her music, her message, and her faith, the most holy things she had built, were being used as money in a betrayal so bad that even church leaders couldn't say anything. And Tiffany, that was the last cry. She was very angry. Tiffany said through clenched teeth one night as she sat next to her sleeping mother, "They're going to pay Mama." All of them. The next day, Tiffany posted something that no one saw coming. The recording is secret. A fight between her and David Mann, her father. It was more than just feelings. It was very bad. She said in the clip, "You let her suffer. Even though you saw her die, you slept next to her like nothing was wrong. It looked like you didn't know what you were doing." The sound of David's voice was cold. He said, "I didn't want her to get sick. She was already losing strength. I just do your best to move on. That's what Jackie helped me see." Tiffany's voice broke. "What did you deserve? To steal from my mom? To..." There was no sound after the scream, just silence. We all went crazy on the internet when the recording dropped. This was no longer a broken family. In slow motion, this was a spiritual murder. Tamela had been the most important person in a gospel empire. She spoke from every scar and prayed from every pain. The two people she trusted the most made promises over her hospital bed and signed papers behind her back, but she was left to suffer in silence. There was more evidence, records of emails sent by Dr. Jackie to David. One read, "We'll both be free if this works out. Do not let Tiffany touch the files. She gets too upset." One more, "Even when Tamala isn't singing, her voice is still valuable. Plan ahead." That line broke the gospel world. You mean to tell me that one gospel artist tweeted that they were counting her silence as part of their business plan? There was more than one kind of betrayal, spirit-filled. It was about money. It was about them. People in churches all over the country started getting together to pray. Broken heart emojis and quiet messages of support were sent by artists like Yolanda Adams, Marvin Sapp, and Kirk Franklin. Tamela was no longer just a gospel singer. She now showed how faith can be abused when love turns into power. What about Dr. Jackie? We lost sight of her. Her private clinic shut down. Her phone stopped working. Multiple complaints about wrong prescriptions and changed dosage orders led to an investigation into her license. But Tiffany, she wasn't done yet. For the press conference, she chose to hold it in the church that her mother had built from scratch. She went to the front of the church, held up her mom's Bible, and said, "This isn't about fame. This is about the voice of my mom. They tried to get rid of her. Love was a weapon and money was poison. She is still breathing. Gee, though, and I'm not going to let thieves change her story." The people in the church stood still. The news crews didn't even move because it wasn't about gossip at that time. It was about how truth can save us. That same night, Tiffany shared a video that made a huge stir on social media. Tamela was weak but awake. She was sitting in a chair with her arms wrapped around a shawl and her hands shaking as she held a microphone. She didn't say anything. She only hummed, "Take me to the king." Weak and fragile, but definitely her. The video was seen 3 million times in 14 hours. Tag, Tamela speaks, justice for Tamela with the hashtag. Tag, she still sings. David, still no sound. But legal experts said yes. Fraud investigations were going on. The lawyers for Tamela had started a full audit, and if it turns out to be true, David and Jackie could be charged with felonies like conspiracy, elder abuse, and financial exploitation. Tiffany's real victory, though, was seeing her mom open her eyes again. As dawn broke through the hospital blinds one morning, Tamela looked at her daughter with tears in her eyes. She said in a whisper, "They tried to shut me up. But honey, I still have one song to play." Tiffany gave a grin. "Mama, then we sing it together." Because this was more than just a scandal. It was a war for a woman's honor. No matter how dark things got, her truth would come back to life like a rose. Tiffany believed the worst was over. The truth had been shown. The whole world had heard. And Tamela Mann, her mother, was finally getting better, both physically and spiritually. But betrayal doesn't end when it's found out. It fights back sometimes. It began quietly. Messages from strangers, friends and family who are worried sent emails. People who replied to her posts called her a liar. A daughter who wants to be famous, and is trying to bring down her own blood. Then a subpoena came, but it wasn't for due process. It was for silence. David Mann put in an injunction against Tiffany, saying she slandered. Jackie backed him up in court, saying that Tiffany was putting a legacy of faith at risk. Tiffany stood in courtroom shaking, but not because she was scared. She was shaking because she was angry. Why do you dare? She said it under her breath as David walked by without looking at her. For 30 years, you stood next to her. When she couldn't sing or walk, you just saw her as paperwork. The fight in court was no longer just about money. It turned into a war over stories. David's team put out edited videos of Tamela and David laughing together when things were better. Character witnesses from Dr. Jackie's medical peers in the church swore that she was the most dedicated doctor they had ever met. They tried to make Tiffany look mean, unstable, and full of anger, but the truth always finds a way to get through. Tamela herself asked to talk. Even though she was very sick, she took the stand with her eyes empty and her voice steady. The web was broken by what she said. I was lied to, given drugs, and then left to die. Gasps could be heard all over the courtroom. She turned around to look at David. You told the nurses I didn't want anyone to come see me. You told me I should rest. But what I really needed were my family, my daughter, and my church. You stripped all that away so you and Jackie could play God. David's face went cold. I trusted you with my life, she continued, and you buried it before I was even gone. The court went silent. Not a cough, not a movement, just the sound of Tamela weeping softly, holding Tiffany's hand. And then the avalanche began. Former staffers came forward. One of Tamela's backup singers admitted she'd been paid to stay quiet after witnessing suspicious injections and hearing arguments between David and Jackie behind hospital doors. An old assistant leaked emails, one in which David wrote, Jackie says she'll hand the next stage. Don't ask questions, just clear the schedule. Church elders, once silent, started speaking out. A bishop who had married the couple years ago took to social media, admitting that Tamela had confided in him, scared and unsure if she was safe in her own home. But the final nail? A nurse, anonymously known as Joy, released a 40-minute recording of conversations between Dr. Jackie and David in the hospital corridor. Tamela's strong, but this next round of meds should slow things down. I'll tell the family she's stabilizing, Jackie said on tape. David responded coldly, good. We need at least another week to finalize the transfer. The video went viral in minutes. Gospel stations pulled all reruns of their shows. Sponsors dropped Dr. Jackie overnight. David's podcast was removed from 3 platforms. And still, Tiffany stayed silent, letting the evidence speak. But inside, she was crumbling. Her childhood was built on Sunday morning's family prayer, laughter around the dinner table. And now all of it felt fake. My whole life, she said in a quiet interview, I thought I was watching a love story. Turns out I was watching a transaction. Tamela, though still recovering, found herself in the crossfire of public pity and private pain. People called her a victim. Some blamed her for staying. Others accused her of playing dumb. But truth is never simple. I didn't know how to leave, Tamela admitted. I thought loyalty meant silence. I thought love meant endurance. But now I see silence almost killed me. And as court proceedings came to an end, a shocking twist rocked the story once more. David tried to settle. He offered Tiffany and Tamela $3 million in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement and sealed court files, but Tiffany refused. No amount of money can cover what you did to my mother, she said, and I won't let another woman suffer in silence because we were too polite to speak. The judge ruled in Tamela's favor, awarding her full control over her medical decisions, seizing all unauthorized financial transfers, and launching a criminal